Hey, real estate rock stars, it's Sarah Dennick, and today we have an amazing guest. She is a retired police officer, detective of 18 years. Her name is Shannon Cutler, and she's out of British Columbia. She is getting into staying safe as a real estate agent and giving lots of great tips on staying safe in our job. You think about all the jeepers and the creepers that aren't right in the head, and especially if you're buying online leads, you really got to listen to your intuition and take 10 minutes and do a due diligence to kind of get to know a little bit about the person that you're meeting. So this is a great episode and one you're not going to want to miss. Very important stuff. Real estate rock stars, it's Sarah Dennick, and I am from Indiana, and let's go Pacers. Tonight is a big night for us. Really excited about that and about this podcast today. I have Shannon Cutler with me. She is from Parksville, British Columbia, and we cannot wait to get to know all about you, Shannon. Thank you for joining us today.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
So super interesting. We were talking before we started recording, and you're actually a former police officer. Back the blue. Love my police officers. My sister is actually a detective here in Indiana, and she's a complete BA, and I do not know how she does it. She does child abuse. So we love the police officers. So thank you so much for serving and protecting.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So that's really interesting to go from real estate, from law enforcement. So can you kind of walk us through that process and kind of how you got into real estate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my policing career was 18 years in British Columbia, and I worked very, very remote community. And then I worked like a major crime, kind of like what your sister does, was a detective investigating homicide and sexual crimes for 10 years.
Wow.
And then I started having children, which changes a bit of your perspective, and working major crimes in these sort of bigger detective units. You get a lot of call outs, and it's not that conducive to family life. So I started to move towards finding a different way forward. And my husband suggested I take my real estate course. I didn't really think about it before. And I opened this giant fat book, and I instantly was just super attracted to it, and got my license in 2017 and had a decision to make whether I was going to stay or go. So I called a friend of mine who was transferring back to Vancouver Island, the island where I live, and asked if he could be my first client. And he said, you know what? We've been in some like dicey situations together policing. He's like, I trust you. Let's do it. And it just went from there.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's so interesting how like teachers, nurses, police officers, these people who get in to their first career as a servant heart, how much of a natural transition it is. Because people are used to calling you for all these questions. Hey, what's this mean? I got pulled over. This happened. This is going on with somebody I know. How should I advise them to, hey, can you sell my house? It's really crazy how that works.
Yeah. Every time I went to a party, which I never went to parties. So every time I went anywhere social, one's like, this is my friend Shannon. She's a police officer. I'm like, no, this is my friend Shannon. She does yoga, or she likes dogs or something. I didn't need to. And then they're like, I got pulled over this one time, and they told me their stupid story. And it was not fun.
Yeah.
Giving my card out now in real estate is super fun because it means people want it, and it means business. And it's a lot more. The questions I get now are easy to answer, problems you can solve very easily, and so much more positive.
Yeah, like I don't want to get into this child abuse case right now and bring down the mood at the party.
Yeah, and my sense of humor was really sort of twisted and jaded, what I thought was funny, because like your sister, you probably know you have to use a sense of humor or you go mentally through it. Yeah, you won't get through it. And we all were a bit twisted. And so some of my jokes weren't very funny to the general public.
So like at the parties, they just I'm a former ER nurse. So I have trauma.
Oh my God.
So I totally get it. And it's so much lighthearted. And it's also so crazy. Just a side note, like yesterday, we went on a party bus with 40 realtors. My husband's a lender, and took us all out to go look at new construction. We're all drinking and hanging out. It's like, that is so different than my nursing life. Like police life would never, I'm like, is this really my job? You know what I mean? Like, it's It's so different. It's just such a different welcome, fresh air, lighter type job to have.
Yeah, when I first got out the first year, I couldn't believe how many gifts I received, how
Yeah.
many bottles of wine, gift cards, invitations to parties, and fun. I mean, I'm not really that social,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved it for that. It fueled me that first year just to connect with
Mm-hmm.
people on such a different level in the
Yeah.
world of real estate and networking. It
Yeah.
just and all my networking before was just with cops, and not that I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a love for them, but it was over. I was over it, and it was so nice to be with these people who had a different
Appreciative.
zest. Yeah, positive, different zest for life. I loved it.
I mean, you've brought justice probably to so many children, and it's so hard that you don't get that recognition. It's hard to walk away, but it is so different. They're like, "Oh my God, you helped me," and I'm like, "Well, I got paid a lot of money. Like, you don't have to get me anything."
You don't have to pay me
It's so
anything.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah. Also,
yeah,
I think what's really interesting for female police officers too is that it's such a male dominated, um, career that you almost like if you don't have that like dark or funny or laid back sense of humor, like you probably aren't going to make it. So nothing can really surprise you at this point. So you're never really caught off guard going into this next career.
yeah. This career I've found. I was actually on this panel yesterday for women in real estate. It's like empowering women in real estate, and there was some heavy hitting women, and I found that one of the common threads was like that coming into this industry that
Mm-hmm.
women are typically there to prop each other up, and that's the community and the mentality that we're I think gathering storm across North America, even further. Some
Mm-hmm.
of the agents I've met at conferences from across the world, and I really like that environment versus I found that I was often the only female in the
Mm-hmm.
room or the female in charge of a team, and it was always like just like pushing my way through it. And now I find that it's just I can let that go, and I walk in and it's just like a totally. And even the men I find in real estate too, the
Mm-hmm.
odd time you get somebody that and women are the same,
Yeah.
tries to sort of push you and bully you because they have all this experience or they're in charge of the biggest team in the area, but you just have to take
Yeah.
it just
Say all
off the
the
shoulders.
time, ego's not your amigo. These people
No.
who have this ego, it's like, come on. And it's usually there's usually a lot of insecurity there that we have found. But I think also like I'm sure that gave you a level of confidence, dealing with things that were so life and death when this just isn't that way. However, it's the biggest purchase of your life. But I think that, so much of this is confidence and being able to speak on data and stats and the psychology of real estate. So I'm sure that you just crushed it out of the gate just having that air of confidence about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely helped. A lot of this, I was trying to figure out when I was leaving policing, what am I going to do? What
Mm-hmm.
skills do I have? And it was hard to figure out because I'd been like stuck in this mentality for so long, and real estate really was a natural transition.
Yeah.
And my a lot of agents complain about admin. I don't know how much admin you guys have in the US, but I had files that were like those old metal file cabinets that are like four
Mm-hmm.
drawers. I had one file that was 8 drawers full of paper. And in real estate, like in policing, and in real estate, I have I'm paperless. I don't do anything.
Same.
I don't do anything. I'm fully paperless, and I love that there's like 10 pages of things I have to complete, and that's it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a really lovely, it's a lovely industry to be in as
It
far
really
as
is.
even admin versus and intensity and
Mm-hmm.
all problems. Like one of the things I teach agents is all problems can be solved in real estate. There's nothing that we can't figure out.
Mm-hmm.
There's no life and death, and so that's another thing I love, that it's solvable issues.
Yeah. Communication is the key to all of it.
I agree. Yeah.
So when you made the transition, did you like just go cold turkey and go straight 1099 from W-2, or what did that look like?
To 99 from W-2. I don't know what that
Oh,
is.
sorry, like your full-time job, salary job, did you like just quit it and get right into real estate, or did you transition and still kind of do both for a while?
I had to I had to leave. I had to make a decision. I was starting to do both as I was learning the ropes. Just I was under this lady that was mentoring me,
Mm-hmm.
and I was more sort of shadowing her. So as I was transitioning out of policing, I was doing that. But as soon as I knew that I wanted to go all in, I just left, put my
Mhm.
retirement papers in when I was 40. I retired from policing and then I just went all in on real estate. And it was really, I felt very like free. I just
Mhm.
felt like there was a huge weight off my shoulders and that the world was just ready to start this new. It just felt very,
This new era of life.
yeah, a new era of life, enlivening. It was totally like that. It was awesome.
That is awesome.
Mm.
So you were telling me a little bit. So it seems like you have a passion for safety, and you've somehow been able to merge your past life with now in real estate, and take some of those things that you have learned and educate people. Can you tell us about that and kind of that process and what you're teaching and where people can find you, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so there was two girls in my office. One had tons of experience in real estate, and the other was a retired probation officer. She was like similar age to me, and they were very physically similar, in hair size, body shape, and everything. And we were having lunch one day in the lunchroom at the brokerage, and they were saying that this man had been stalking them at their open houses. So the same fellow had come to each of their open houses a minimum of 3 to 4 times each person. He would come, he would stand like really nervously at the door. He refused to remove his shoes. He wouldn't come all the way in, and he would always come at the end. So 2 to 5, he'd come at like 4:50 when you're getting ready to wrap up. And if it was really busy, sometimes the agents would notice him not coming in until people were leaving. And this was very sporadic. It wasn't every open house they did, but it was consistent.
Mhm.
And so, can I swear on the show at all? I don't know if I
Sure.
can. I don't have to. Anyway, so I said, "We'll tell him to fuck
Do, girl.
off and
Do you?
yeah, yeah, get out of your open house in a nice way, because really, I don't like confrontation, but I have no problem with it. However, confrontation is not always the most effective way of communicating. So I was chatting with these girls about how to ask this guy to leave, and neither of them felt comfortable with asking him to leave. And so we got the police involved, and he was eventually figured out who he was and dealt with, and he quit. And he started bothering me, but I got rid of him pretty fast.
Like in a dumpster?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is recorded. We can't talk about that. Yeah. So it was just, and he didn't harm anybody or make any threats, but just the whole nature of what he was doing was threatening to these women.
Mhm.
So we talked about some communication things and how they could ask this guy to go for the future, this type of situation. And then I said, is there no safety training like once we get out or anything? And they said, no, there isn't. And then I had a closing with a military guy that was a referral, and he became insta attached to me, um, in a really, really odd way. Cause I have like the resting bitch face where I don't really invite flirtation. I
Mhm.
really don't have that.
Yeah.
It's yeah. And that's just the way I am. It's always been that way.
Mhm.
So I didn't invite the behavior, and it started to escalate where I had to, during the closing, I had to call the police to come by to keep the peace. And when I went to hand this guy the keys, I said, hey, I'll call him B. Hey, B, I need to know that I'm safe to go into this house with you to do the closing walkthrough. I need you to reassure me that I am going to be safe going in with you. And he said, you better not fucking come in with me. And he had his fist clenched like this. So I dropped the keys in the parking lot or in the driveway. I scooted around to my car, talked to the police. This guy went in, and I thought, this is not okay. We need to address these types of things. So I
Mhm.
started talking realtor safety with our real estate board, and developed a little like sort of a workshop that I would teach some agents, but it didn't really get off the ground. So I went to the biggest board one of the biggest boards in our country, the Vancouver, the Board of Greater Vancouver, and I developed an accredited course with them. That's 3 hours that I teach.
I love that.
Yeah. So then I started teaching it via virtual and in person to
Mhm.
agents on Vancouver Island, in Vancouver, and then it can be anywhere because you can just zoom in anywhere. And I've really, really pushed my board. And now we have a mandatory new agent safety training that I teach every quarter to all the new agents that come to the board. They have to sit through my 30-minute talk. it's sort of a course, push on the course, and I give them the top things to get them started. It's just sort of spread from there. And I talk at brokerages all over the province and even across the country. And then I've spoken at the leading RE real estate conference 2 years in a row in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Although the turnout there is never that great because I usually have to talk at 9 a.m. After the big party night. It's in Vegas and it's not that sexy of a conversation. So it's never.
But necessary.
Yeah. So that's just where it's at. I started a podcast in January
And
called
what's
Safe
that
Realty.
podcast called?
It's called Safe Realty.
Okay.
It's yeah. I had a couple cute names for it, but people want to know what it is. So it's hard to all these cute like real estate or podcast names. If you don't know what it is, people aren't going to find you.
Yeah.
So that's been interesting. It's bi-weekly, and all it is really is just my course in 20 to 40 minute snippets just to get
And
the
is it
information.
more around the communication of how to address like particular scenarios, like this guy's acting crazy, you're in a house with them, like stay near the door, like what are some of those takeaways that you're teaching?
Yeah, so it's all in each topic. Like, so I've done 2 episodes in showing safety, 2 episodes in open house safety, and
Okay.
yeah, and then there's one about vetting, like new people don't meet a murderer. I can tell you that somebody actually went and met a murderer, so I can tell you that story after if you want. But it's slowing the process down to not meet strangers because there's just no reason for it in this day and age. And then there are communication pieces, and most people don't take communication courses. Maybe they listen to a couple of cool podcasts, but I teach people to make up little white lies that they're comfortable with to get out of a situation in order to not escalate or make somebody feel that they're figured out that they're going to rob the place, or that they're creeped out by the person or something. So I do have like a list of things that I always tell people to say or to make up their own few little white lies to get out of that situation.
What's so crazy is I have never bought leads, and one of the major reasons is because I'm scared of people. I don't want to go chase somebody I don't know, and I don't want to go hang out with a random person. And I've gotten some referral leads from people, and usually it's people I know, so I don't worry too much about it. But that is a very interesting if you are buying leads, like it's not a bad idea to like, on like my case, I don't know if that's national. But yeah, I always like get on and check these people's like background to see if they've been to jail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. It's good. And can I tell you a little story about that?
Yeah, of course.
So I did a talk with my company just sort of post COVID where we were still Zooming big groups everywhere. And I gave like a little safety talk. It was sort of a question and answer thing with the group. And the day after I gave this talk, an agent called me and she said, she was brand new, really cute little agent, called and said that she had gotten a call from a fellow to come list his property, and he wanted her to come out and see it right away. So she did what I had suggested, slowed it down, checked him online, just get a little information on who he was. And then there's like this thing called CSO, and it's like a court service. You can find out court cases that have gone through, dispositions, traffic fines, all sorts of stuff, anything that's public.
Yeah.
And she found out that this fellow had just been released from prison for murdering his ex-girlfriend, and it was a domestic violence murder and stalking and all that stuff. So she called me. She's like, "What am I supposed to do?" I said, he probably needs to sell his house because he's been in jail for a few years. He's probably broke, but there's like 10,000 agents in the Vancouver area, and a lot more experience and a lot uglier than you. So why did he pick you? Yeah, why did he pick you? So we just chatted it through and, said you could make a decision on to take it, pass it on, ignore it, take a male agent with you, ask the guy to come into the office and have another senior person with you to talk it through.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that it's like it hits home. To take 5 minutes out of your day before you rush off to meet a stranger to figure out who you're going to meet and whether or not they're actual business, because they might not even be real business, and then you don't want to waste your time.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could scale that too with like dating apps.
Totally.
Because like all these people are meeting people they don't know off of an app, and it's just such a weird thing anyways, because you're like going there to be in a relationship. So
So anonymous, and anybody can be anything.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's so
even
crazy.
Facebook Marketplace. Like we had somebody come here to get some stuff a couple years ago for my son that night, and I'm semi-rural, and that night my son's mountain bike got stolen from our yard. But I think it was those people,
Yeah,
and you just have to be very mindful about who you let into your
it's just not
private
worth it.
space. No, it's not worth it at all.
And I've had like weird situations too over the years. So like I had a couple that I helped them build a house. They were great. They ended up getting a divorce and they wanted me to sell their house. Come to find out they're getting a divorce because he was into the methamphetamine
Mhm.
and he became a weirdo. So she moved out of state and I had to deal with just him. It was just so bizarre. It was awful. I was there staging one day and I didn't know he was like passed out in one of the rooms. There was like AK-47s. And then like he gets up and he has like a gun on his hip. And I'm like, I'm out. And like, what's so crazy is that like, even people that I've had relationships with, I sold their house or we've been to their kids' birthday parties. Like we had kind of that surface relationship and he just flipped. And I wasn't scared until I was. And like, he knows where I lived. Then he started threatening me. Like it was just bananas. And it's just even people that that
Mhm.
methamphetamine makes them crazy.
Crazy. Yeah. I know an agent who is held. She's been held at gunpoint two separate occasions
Yes.
during her 30 years in real estate, both unrelated and held at gunpoint. And I was like, that's rare. Like it's not what happens to most agents on a daily
Yeah.
basis. But the fact that, she was working in a rural area and she was a figure of authority and these people didn't like that. And one was
Hmm.
mental illness and the other one was just, no, I'm not leaving no matter what you say. And she's like, you don't, she was held at gunpoint, like in the attic for hours with another agent until
Oh, God.
they convinced him that they would not sell the house from under him and they let her go. Um, so there's just some things can never be avoided. It's not to judge how people do it. It's just my whole purpose because I get paid to teach, I get paid to speak, but this podcast and the stuff I started doing, I just do it because I want the information to get out there to agents
Hmm.
in the hopes that they can establish a few good business practices that keep them safe, share the information, and then avoid the worst thing happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too, and I could see. I mean, if you told the everyday person like, "Hey, your job's going to go to meet people that you don't know and go into a house with them," like that's a little crazy. But also, I think sometimes we get so focused on business and numbers and a paycheck that maybe people overlook some of these red flags that um, are huge and it's not worth it. At the end of the day, none of it's worth it. If you have to feel safe and if you're not comfortable, like those alarms kind of go off and you kind of need to listen to them.
The red flags are the biggest thing. And it when you said exactly what I talk to people about, that like listening to the red flags, it's like listening to your intuition or your spidey senses.
Hmm.
If something seems too good to be true or something seems off, it probably is off. And if it's legitimate business, it's going to be there a little later in the day. It's going to be there if you take a few minutes to step back and figure out what's going on. And if it's not going to be there, then it's not legitimate business, or it's business you
Hmm.
don't want. If it's, I find that most of the issues happen when we rush, and there really is enough real estate business for everybody that wants to work hard. There really is enough business. It's just a matter of how you approach it. And if it's, you're approaching it from this, like, I need to take whatever I can get right now. I'm going to call, I'm going to jump, I'm going to go, I'm going to answer my phone at midnight. I'm going to, just run out to do everything that everybody asks of me. It's that panic sort of mentality rather than taking that few extra minutes to assess before you leave. There's just no reason. I always teach people there's no such thing as a real estate emergency. Like there's legal emergencies that are for the lawyers, there's plumbing emergencies that are like flooding for the plumbers, or a drain goes, that's a foundation or a drain expert. There's all these other issues are not real estate emergencies. They're real estate problems that we can address, but there's no such thing as a panic, that we need to panic in real estate. Like we just don't.
I will tell you one story though.
Okay.
I was in new,
Uh-oh.
we were like in new construction and we were building and like we would go by the house and the client would go by the house every single day and the contractors had their child on site and they were throwing like 2x4 pieces off the roof and it hit my client in the head. He had to go to the ER and get a CAT scan. Like I was just like, geez, he like had a concussion, but yeah, it's not. I'm just joking. It's not the same.
Not the same. That was his fault for being there. And that
Right.
construction person should have been like, no, this is a construction site.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
work
yeah,
safe,
yeah. No, I'm just joking. Yeah.
Yeah, but at least it didn't hit the kid.
Right, right. He was
Like,
fine. He was
yeah.
fine. Wear your hard hat, son. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's so cool. So, do you recommend that people have like mace with them, or what's your kind of baseline there?
Well, so we don't really collect great stats in Canada for
Mm-hmm.
for realtors. So I get somebody in NAR to send me they do a really awesome annual safety report every year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in the US, over 55% of male agents carry weapons of some sort, self-defense weapons of some sort to do their job in real estate. And I think it's a little less for women. It's just like around 50%. So half of agents in the US are carrying weapons of some sort as a realtor. I don't mean like day to day just to like that's how they live, but to do their job.
Yeah.
And that at least a quarter of agents every year feel that they're in an unsafe situation. In Canada, our laws are so much different of what we're allowed to have.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can't have anything. Everything's illegal here. Everything.
Oh wow.
So I think that anything you have can and will be turned against you if it was like the worst case scenario. And most people who carry items, even if it's like a firearm, are not trained how to use them under high stakes, high adrenaline. You might know how to use it because you've taken a
When you're at
course or
the
you've
shooting range, you're just
gone to
hanging
the
out.
range. There's no pressure at a
But
range.
when
There's no
it's
one
fight or
shooting.
flight, what are you gonna do?
That's right. And if it's fight or flight, then you need to do whatever you can to protect yourself 110%. But this is talking worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Most people in the world are not trained under high pressure to use a weapon, and they won't have it in the ready because they're just doing their real estate job. Whereas a person who's coming to attack an agent for whatever reason, they have a plan in the back of their mind. They're prepared.
Mm-hmm.
They already know, and they have the jump on you already. So I don't recommend that people carry weapons to protect. I mean, to protect themselves, yes, but I don't recommend them to depend on them because that will not be your first line. Your first line will be to fight or flee and at that moment if it's like the worst case.
Mm-hmm.
And I always ask people carry, like, we're not allowed to carry mace. I think you guys can carry mace or pepper spray. We're only allowed here for like bear animal spray. And they're really big, they spray really far just for bears or cougars and stuff. We're not allowed to carry pepper spray. So yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, because you have it. Pepper spray is to be used as a defense against a human. So it's considered like a concealed weapon, and we're not allowed things like brass knuckles, which is fine. But those are that's a prohibited weapon. A switchblade, prohibited weapon. Any
Paraphernalia, those brass knuckles.
yeah, like, so I think if a person had pepper spray, because like I take it everywhere because I hike and walk in the forest by myself all the time.
Yeah.
So I always have it. And if you use it against somebody because they're attacking you, you're very likely not going to be in any legal trouble in our area. In the US, you won't be because you're allowed to carry it. But it's like the reason for you having it. And if it's for safety and you're defending yourself, it's one thing. But for pepper spray is one of those things specifically that if you've never been pepper sprayed and you carry pepper spray, you should have somebody pepper spray you or just spray a little and walk through the cloud of it and see what happens, because you will be completely incapacitated. I've been pepper sprayed in police training. I was completely blind for probably 2 minutes. Like My eyes were open, but I couldn't see for 2 minutes. Somebody had to come help me to a station. And then as soon as you put your head over and start washing it out, all the mucous membranes fill up and then you start to have trouble breathing. Nose runs, eyes runs. I think it was probably 90 minutes before I was semi-normal.
Sounds
Some people,
terrible.
it's terrible. It's effective, potentially effective, but the implications of cross contamination are so huge with pepper spray, especially if you're spraying it inside a house. You will 100% be contaminated by it, and you will also be incapacitated to a degree, depending on how much you intake. There's times when we would go to these parties that were going crazy when I was first policing, and things were like very dangerous and starting to go sideways. Just spray a couple sprays in the air, hundreds of people would all start coughing and leave. So I think if you sprayed that into like a small space in a room, in a house, you're going to get it and you're going to have
Mhm.
trouble. And so if you carry it for the means of personal protection, I would recommend having somebody spray you under controlled circumstances, or spray it and walk through it and see what happens, so you know what to expect.
Did you have you been tased?
I have. Yep.
Which is worse?
Oh, well, a taser is over very quickly.
Yeah.
It hits you, you drop. Yeah, you drop. And as soon as the taser's off, it's off.
Yeah.
The feeling of it's off. Like the movies where they show people you get tased and you're unconscious, it's total bullshit. It doesn't happen. It
Oh.
doesn't. If it's that intense of a tase, it's probably an illegal taser because you're like stopping somebody's heart. So it doesn't happen. That's total
Mhm.
baloney. It just incapacitates your muscles and you drop and then it's over. But I
Yeah, it makes me want to do some like Kung Fu Panda classes or something, you know?
yeah, self-defense is great. It's good for strength, it's good for confidence, and one of the things I talk about is target hardening yourself. So even if you don't, it's like locking your car doors or not leaving your phone on the seat or your laptop on the seat for somebody to break into your car, right? Or a nice big bottle of champagne. Oh, that looks tasty, and somebody breaking in. You target harden your car, you put an alarm on your house or put a dog sign or have a dog in the yard, you're target hardening your house. So if we as people take self-defense, and even if you don't, but you have good posture and you have your head up and you're paying attention to your surroundings, you're way, way, way less likely to be a target of a crime.
Maybe I'll just get like a black belt and just act like I earned it. Just wear it around town.
Where just tie it around. Yeah, that's right.
I am
Have your
legal.
That's right. But it really does matter. Like if you just like keep your head up and like talk to people and really look at people in the eye and like are aware of your surroundings, you're way less likely to be a victim of crime than somebody who's like head down on their phone, not paying attention, or even just somebody who is really not confident. And there's so many people like that. So taking a self-defense class is good because you're going to learn something that could help
Yeah,
you.
I love that.
Yeah, plus it's good conditioning.
Yeah, it's good for your mental health.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's interesting too, like, you know, there's a lot of there's a lot. I mean, this is all really good information, and I think it's so good to think about the physicality. I think something else that we don't talk about in real estate enough is the mental abuse that goes on with realtors. Like, I had a client one time, and he used to just get so drunk and rage text me at night, like about like stuff that's so dumb, like inspection stuff, or just I'm just like, this is not okay. And I think that and people are stressed. It's, the biggest sell of their life. And I think naturally sometimes we are the target of a lot of that anxiety, and they take it out on us, and they're just very, curt with their attitude. But I think it's really important too to learn how to establish boundaries with clients. And I think that you end up getting more respect, that I'm just not on call for you all the time. I will do everything I can for you, and I always have your back. But again, this is not an emergency right now. Like, we can deal with this later. I don't want to talk to you at midnight. I'm with my family, and I'm not my best version if I don't have boundaries. So you'll get a way better me if we can establish those, and we can set up a call tomorrow at 10 a.m. and we can go through this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just really important, I think, for especially new agents to learn to have those boundaries with clients.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I was on this panel yesterday, and it was like giving advice for women in leadership roles in real estate.
Mhm.
And I said, that's like the one thing, set a boundary. And if you
Mhm.
let your clients know what their expectations of the relationship are right off the bat, then they have an understanding and you have an understanding, and then they're quite happy with that. And I
Mhm.
tell everybody, you can message me all night long. I don't mind. Leave voice message, leave text, leave emails, WhatsApp. I don't care. I'll get it the next morning. If you have, because people often don't have time to during the day to deal with this. So at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, they've either had a drink or their kids are in bed. That's when they blurt out all the questions and all the concerns. So I just do exactly what you say. Like, I'll get back to you then 9 or 10 o'clock the next day. We'll go through everything. We'll deal with everything. But unless I'm under a time clause and like if I'm negotiating a contract, my phone goes
Mhm.
off every night at 6 o'clock, sometimes earlier because I have kids and a life. And I tell my clients my phone is not on at night, and it's not on overnight, and it's not on early in the morning before the 9 or 10 because I'm with my
Mhm.
family. And I only had one or two people maybe that didn't agree with that. And I just said, I'm not the right agent for you. And they moved on.
Sure.
And the rest of, I've never had somebody else say that that's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that if, especially on the iPhone, you can put it on that you're on basically, I don't know, it's silence or I don't know. So
Focus.
you're not, yeah, focus. You're not getting
Yeah.
those. And I remember I used to be like working out and get a text and like leave my workout, in the very beginning. But I think that especially for your mental health, you have to put that away on sometimes, especially during your workouts, and really focus on yourself and fill up your own cup so you can be really great. And I think that it's just really important. I can understand if somebody's like waiting on an offer and you're countering.
Yeah.
That's kind of a different scenario
Mhm.
for me. Like I'm in it with them and I want that
Yeah.
to work out. But that's not every single day that you're in that situation. And I also think like as a professional, I see a lot of people submit an offer to me at 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock on a Friday, and they want a response by 10 p.m. And I'm like, that's not going to work for me. Like,
Mm-mm.
no, that's not what I'm doing. And I remember in the beginning, I would take my computer everywhere just in case. Like I'm
Mhm.
trying to have a good time, hang out with friends, and I'm like, hold on, I got a counter to this. And I think that when you learn that early on and you create those boundaries with the other side, like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm submitting an offer. Hey, I'm gonna be out of pocket. Hey, I'm here. I'm not gonna be around right now. And also like my husband's actually in Canada right now fishing with my son. And he before he went, he gave, I'm gonna be here. This is who you contact. He has all your files, like, he's on the mortgage side of it, but just setting that expectation with everybody who you're professionally, acquainted with is very important.
It's huge. That's happened to a lot recently in the spring market where agents will be like, "Oh, how was the inspection today?" At like 9 at night. I just don't even respond or engage because if that's what they're doing with their night, that's up to them. That's not what I'm doing with my evening. There's a young agent that a good friend of mine here on the island, and we talked a lot about that with boundaries, and she didn't have any and has a hard time setting them, and she's was a victim of like a stalking. In the first 6 months, she was a victim of well, I shouldn't say victim, but she was sued, involved in like 2 legal lawsuits with the real estate because of um, overstepping her role as an agent, not taking the boundaries that are appropriate. I I mean, like, when your real estate transaction ends, it's gone to a lawyer. Well, the other party's going to sue your party. Now it's not your problem anymore. You need to refer them to the lawyer. But without the boundaries, it was like, oh, keep giving them advice and keep engaging and keep engaging, and it was just nonstop problems. And that was one of the things that really, really
Mm-hmm.
like forced me to start talking more about boundaries with agents and even senior agents. Like that's who I find often can be even the worst, guys that have been in the business 20 or 30 years, and this is their, like, they just don't want to retire. It's their life. And so
Mm-hmm.
they still don't have those boundaries. And I think it's important. Yeah. I mean, for safety, but like you said, to protect your mental well-being.
The whole
We have
the holistic, all of it.
it's everything. And
Everything.
because it will never end. I just keep my messages as unread so
Mm-hmm.
I don't forget about them. Because otherwise I'll just go in like the void of real estate
I
messages.
always like
And
screenshot the text And then when I wake up, look at my pictures, make sure I didn't miss anything because there's just so much going on, you know. But I'm like, it's there. If I did click on it and read it, and I don't really want to deal with it right now.
Yeah, and there's not most things like you said, unless you're in a negotiation that has you have to respond by 9 o'clock. We just really need to. I think that's where I went wrong with that one guy that became like attached, and I had to call the police at my client. It was a house hunting trip. They only get 5 days of government relocation here in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's pretty intense when they're relocating. So I typically have my phone on a little later for those people because we're looking at 6, 10, 12 houses a day, making offers in a few days. Like it's very quick. And so I typically have a bit more time and energy that week for them. And that guy was messaging me in the evening, and I'd be like, yeah, no, that's a good idea. Let's do this tomorrow or do that. And he just took it as like it was an ongoing relationship conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
I learned very quickly from that one that after him, I learned I established boundaries immediately
Mm-hmm.
upon even the first introduction of a new client. This is
Yeah.
how I do business. I hope this works for you because I'd love to work with you. And if they didn't, then that's okay.
Yeah. And I think in that case, I think in all the cases, it's you systemize this process. So when you pick up a new client, you set the expectations. How should I communicate with you? Do you want me to text? Do you want husband and wife to be on this? Because you can also get in weird situations. I've had this happen a few times early in my career too, especially like they're relocating and the husband came and then like they got weird towards me. Like I was like, what? Like I don't, nobody's liking your husband here. I'm just trying to sell you a house. But you can get ahead of some of that by how should I communicate with you both? Should we set this up? Let's set the expectation. You know, the inspection is today. Usually we don't get it back for about 24 hours. What I like to do is once I see it, I'll send out and get quotes. And then as those come in, the things that I think are really important, I'll collaborate with you, what's really important to you. And then we'll meet in the middle and I can give you an idea what that price is going to be. But it's not going to be, I'm not going to get a quote at 9 p.m. Like, so if I tell them like, this is how it goes. And I think most of the anxiety comes from just the unknown of the process. And if you can spell it out so well on the front end and they don't have questions, then everybody's going to have a better life. If you get like, I mean, this is kind of off subject, but if you get all the utility pricing before you even go to market, what your monthly rate, what your monthly bills are, you're not going to have to bother them at 9 p.m. and ask, hey, what's your electric bill? They're thinking about making an offer. Because they can also be on the other way that you have an agent who is kind of annoying towards their clients because they didn't do their due diligence up front. And they don't want to be at dinner dealing with this either. So I think it's a respect thing, and just establishing those boundaries up front.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah. Everything you said is just exactly how I wish every agent would
Mm-hmm.
engage. Oh, not only for their safety, but for their mental well-being, for the professional relationship with their client and other colleagues. That's if everybody would do exactly what you said, this industry would run so much smoother.
Yeah. And I think, you know, for us here, hyper local in Indiana, like we're really on a mission, our brokerage, to elevate realtors, to professionalize our industry, because, you know, there's a buy and sell to every deal. And I got to deal with you and I don't want to deal with stupid. Like, I don't want to do your job. And I could help you if you're like a good professional and you're going to do your job, like kind of walk you through some of this process. And I get if it's like your first deal and I'm the one who's always like, okay, I'm going to help you through this. Like, but I think that when it comes to people who just don't do their job and don't care, I just get really frustrated. So I just think it's really important, especially if you have a team or you have a brokerage, just to kind of level it up, like get savvy, you know, like learn all these things so you can articulate it to your client. So we all have more easy transitions and people don't think we just stick a sign in the yard, you know. Soapbox,
Yeah, like
soapbox.
lead by example. How you
Exactly.
want the industry to be, that's how you operate your business with
Yeah.
other agents too. And you want an agent to be like, "Oh, I loved working with her. I trust her already. This is how she operates. If she says this is what's going on, that's what's going on." You want that trust in the industry, definitely.
And what's so crazy is that once you, and I'm speaking to like real estate agents here, once you do you know, you have business and you work with people, if there's 5 offers on that table and they see you as one of those offers, even if it's less, they might come back to you if you're over communicating and give you some tidbit that's going to get your deal done because they want to work with you. And that's what I kind of educate all my sellers on. I'm like, you know, we'll evaluate each deal. It's who the lender is, it's who the realtor is, it's what the loan type is, and every deal isn't the same. If it's a cash offer, and they didn't send proof of funds and it's kind of shady, and I know that it's your offer and it's this lender that's credible, like I'll take that all day long. And they probably get an appraisal waiver for us. Like it's kind of crazy how it works. So I just think that if you do the work, you're going to end up doing even more business because it's a reputation. If you have that reputation, people want to work with you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. It's so important. And I think too, when you have that reputation, you'll weed out some of the creeps and weirdos too.
Mm-hmm.
That
I've
do.
seen this before, and I don't like it. Something's off here.
Yeah. I've had people hire me specifically because of my background, not knowing like I always ask, how did you find me? If it's a stranger, why did you hire me, or why do you want to work with me? Because that is one of my questions. I ask people to weed out people that are not like that are here for nefarious purposes and aren't really real estate clients.
Yeah.
But I have had people hire me specifically because they had really bad tenants that were not going to leave, that were going to destroy the property, and they wanted me to deal with the problem because of my ability to deal with conflict. And I just would call the police. Like, I'm not a policeman anymore. I'm not dealing with this.
911.
So I'm just going to stand in the driveway in my cute shoes, and I'm going to call the police to come deal with this. This is not my problem.
My circus, honey. It's not my circus.
Not my circus.
Yeah, no, I think too, like, and I get all that. This is a whole nother episode, but I'm an investor as well, and we do a lot of flipping, and I just hate going in areas that are sketch, and like a lot of people, that's where they find the deal, and that's just not my buy box. But I think it is important to like maybe do an episode on investors, how to kind of fill out the area before you go and meet somebody. Like my contractor, I always know that he's always strapped, honey, and I just stand behind him. But like I just going into those shady areas, like, do you drive through first? What do you do? Like I think that would be something. If maybe I felt more comfortable going into those type of areas, then I would do it more. But I'm just not there yet because it's just not worth it for me at this point.
Yeah. And I think that you guys have there's some bigger cities in Canada that we have those areas, but not as many as in the US. But one of the things we talk about on the real estate course and on the Safe Realty podcast is know your location. I mean, are you going to a rural property where there's no cell service? Where there's another property for 10 or 20 acres.
Mm-hmm.
Is it vacant? Is there, or is there some creep living as like a caretaker somewhere on the property? So, Google map your location, Google Earth it, figure out where you're going and get an idea of what you're walking into, because not all places of business should be our place. Like if I don't deal with commercial real estate because that's not my lane, and I'm not going to go to 4 towns over and deal with a rural property, or because it's, again, I don't know the product, I don't know the area. So it's important to know where you're going. And if you are going to an environment that is less than desirable, high crime, high drug use, homeless encampments, that kind of thing, then we need to have a different plan than if we're going to go into a nice suburbia residential area. Not that problems can't happen there, but we have to have a different awareness as to who knows where you are. Do you have somebody with you, day versus night, parking, having, appropriate footwear where you're going, and just knowing, like doing a little bit, it's like doing research for a project.
Yeah.
And I'm talking 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm not talking
and I always share my location with my sister. If I'm going somewhere kind of new, I'm like, hey, I'm sharing this with you. Or like if I have a first time home buyer and their budget's a little lower than what they want, but they really want to be homeowners, and it's kind of like 49th up is a little sketchy. It's kind of up and coming, and you're kind of on that cusp, but that's really the only way to get them into a house. I also check the sex offender registry, just to kind of give them a heads up. But yeah, I mean, that's just maybe an extra that like, I just really want people to like their house. Like, I just want to make sure it's a good fit. So, I mean, I think this episode has been awesome. So many tidbits. Is there anything else that you would like to share, or any other thoughts, or where can we find you on Instagram?
Yeah, I'm Island Shannon Cutler on Instagram, and the podcast is Safe Realty. There's 16 episodes up. It's bi-weekly, and I'll keep going. I'm hoping to do a sort of a bigger blast in September, because that's Realtor Safety Month.
Oh, nice.
Well, that's what NAR deems as Realtor Safety Month.
I didn't even
In
think it was
Canada,
a Realtor Safety Month.
yeah, there you go. There's lots of, actually, for you guys in the US, there's lots of resources on the NAR safety page. There's courses, there's information. They do an annual survey. It's really, really great. And so that just, I think there's good resources out there. There's also tons of training for brokerages via NAR, and they'll sometimes even pay for it.
Oh, wow.
So I would recommend taking some kind of course on it, or listening to the episodes on the podcast, because it's kind of just like the course broken down.
Yeah.
But I just want to I think one of the biggest things is to remind people that there's real estate doesn't require panic in meeting a new client. We don't have to meet strangers. No other profession does this.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to meet strangers at their demand, because that's when they feel that they need to do it. It's, if you even tell somebody, I need to get your identification before we meet, or have a few questions, I'm doing this for my safety because you're a stranger and I don't know you and I want to ensure that, or it's my brokerage's policy, every single person who is a regular human not out to harm you will be on board with that. They will not say, they'll all say, oh my God, I never thought of that. What a weird profession you're in. I never thought of that. Of course, this is the situation with me. And then, okay, probably this is okay. And anybody who balks at that or tries to pressure you is not
That's
legitimate
that person
business.
You're trying not to meet.
It's not legitimate business. You don't want it. You don't want it.
Yeah.
Nope.
Ugh. Why are there so many creepers and weepers in the world? Ugh. I just want to sell houses.
That's right. We just want to look cute, do our job, do the right thing for people. Yeah.
I just want the Pacers to win tonight. I mean, come on. Come on. Well,
I'm a hockey fan, so we're Oilers versus Florida right now. So go Oilers.
Yeah, go Oilers. Yeah. Hockey's a tough sport, man. They do not mess around.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, it has been so nice to meet you. It's so great. I feel like you should come to our Real Estate Rockstars Mastermind next year and do a little spiel on safety, because I think it's something that we don't think about. It's not sexy. It's not like this is the newest technology, but when it comes down to it, like when your car goes in the water and you're sinking, what do? I don't know, but I should have listened to that at that, I don't know. It's like, you don't know, you don't need it till you need it. And now it's too late. So
too late.
I think that's really, really important. And I think that anybody, everybody can use this, male, female, everybody. It's just, some people are crazy and we got to deal with it. So,
that's great.
But yeah, great tidbits. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I love what you guys do too, and the positive message that your episodes and your mastermind groups give. I was listening to an episode yesterday, but from the mastermind this year, and I was like, yeah, this girl's a badass. I was talking, and it was really, really fun and uplifting and good messaging.
Yeah, so good. All right, well, Real Estate Rockstars, thank you much for joining us, and you're going to love this one. Have a great day.